I think everyone, at least once in their life, has faked sick. Whether it was to get out of school, work, or some random event, it's a foolproof excuse to get out of whatever, whenever. I didn't really fake sick until pretty late into my schooling career because as a kid, I never wanted to miss a day of school. Not even because my parents were strict about me going. No, I went every day by choice. Even on days where I probably could have gotten out of going, I still went. But by the time I hit 8th grade, I was so burnt out. Like any motivation that I had previously had to go to class, gone. It was like I was experiencing senioritis 4 years early, except I wasn't a senior and I wasn't even in high school yet. Looking back, my case of early stage senioritis was probably because of my insane schedule. At the time, I was 4 years deep into competitive gymnastics, which meant I had to train an extra 24 hours a week, meaning after an 8-hour school day, I had to go straight to gymnastics practice for an extra 4 hours. And this was pretty much my schedule for 6 days a week. 8 hours of school followed by 4 hours of gymnastics practice. I don't know how I was even a functioning human being at this point, because now going to a lecture or lab for 1 hour drains me of any energy. I spend the rest of the day napping. This schedule was genuinely pushing me over the edge to the point where I went from wanting to go to every single class to wanting to skip. The funny thing was, I didn't want to skip to avoid like a test I didn't want to study for. It was honestly just to give me extra time to A, sleep, B, bed rot, and C, do whatever else I couldn't find the time to do during the week. Because of my busy schedule, I didn't have the time to do anything outside of school or gymnastics. Like, I'm sure other student athletes can relate, but a lot of the time when friends from school ask to hang out outside of school, I'd always have to say, sorry, I can't, I have practice. Practice again, can't you skip? No. Skipping gymnastics is way scarier than skipping school. Like, if you miss a single day of practice, it felt like you were being shunned by the coaches for missing a day. Even if you had an excuse, you could go from the top of the pyramid to the bottom in a single day. So when given a choice to skip gymnastics practice or school, I always went with school. But here was my problem. My parents wouldn't just let me skip unless I was actually physically sick. It wasn't enough to say I felt sick or that I had a headache or even my stomach hurt. My mom needed the receipts, the proof. So I had to come up with ways in order to make it look like I was sick enough to miss school, but not sick enough to miss gymnastics. So my first and probably most sketchy method was using an onion. So for those of you who don't know, when you cut an onion, your eyes begin to water. But why do your eyes water? Well, I'm glad you asked. When onions are damaged, they release a chemical which triggers tears and makes your eyes sting. So I thought, what if you brought the onion close enough to your eye where it would cause it to get super irritated? And so I tried. I walked into the kitchen making sure nobody saw as I stole an onion from the bowl. Once I grabbed the onion, I made my way casually up the steps, sneaking it safely into my room. While everyone was getting ready for school and work, I cut a tiny piece off of the onion. I then took the onion and I rubbed it just under my eye. The second that onion touched my face, immediate regret. My eye turned super red, watery, and it stung. The same type of sting when you accidentally get shampoo in your eye. I mean, in retrospect, it was perfect for my plan, but at the time I was reconsidering. But I was already an onion deep into the scheme. So at 7 a.m. in the morning, I'm running over to my mom complaining about my eye. She gave me one look. Yeah, you're staying home. If it still hurts by the afternoon, call me. I'll run you to the doctor. I nodded like, yeah, I'll let you know. I spent the entire day in bed, watched TV, painted my nails. I'm pretty sure I even caught up on some homework. It was a perfect rest day, if you ask me. And by the time my parents came back from work, my eye was magically healed and I was ready to go to gymnastics. Though this was the one and only time I ever used an onion to fake sick because it smelled so bad. And the entire day, even after washing my face, I could literally only smell onions. I think it would also be weird if I got another spontaneous red eye after my last one had come and gone within a span of a few hours. Also, I'm sure they'd be wondering where all the onions were disappearing to, because after I'd cut a little piece off, I quickly threw it out in the garbage can so nobody could see. So if I wanted to skip again, I had to evolve my game. I needed to come up with a way to fake a common cold that would easily and believably come and go quickly. I also needed to pass my mom's 2 tests, the forehead and the temperature. If my forehead felt warm enough and I had a temperature on the thermometer, she'd let me stay home from school. My method was genius. First, I ran a sink faucet until the water was practically boiling. Next, I pressed my forehead against the metal part and then took a sip of the hot water from the faucet. It raised my temperature just enough to throw off the thermometer. Not hospital level fever, but just like, keep her home. So when my mom came over, she'd feel my forehead, which was warm. Then she'd whip out the thermometer, read the numbers, squint and go, 100.3, guess you're staying in. Yet another win. Now, at the time, I thought this method was foolproof. I mean, the thermometer showed a high fever, my forehead was warm. All I had to do was play up the symptoms, act a little bit. The second time I tried this trick, I was ready. She felt my forehead, check. Pulled out the thermometer, check. Mentally, I was already in my bed watching Netflix. Until she came back 5 minutes later with a brand new thermometer. Yeah, when she checked my temperature had gone back down to normal. So I went to school that day. Apparently, she had seen me pressing my head against the faucet in the bathroom that morning, so she knew I was trying to get out of it. So yeah, I probably would have more stories of faking sick that year, except it happened to be in 2020. So by March, everyone was sent home by default. If you're watching this video and thinking of faking sick, don't do it. Stay in school, kids.